This is the MCCU Show podcast, home to banger Christian conversations.
And definitely a safe space.
It's home away from home.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the MCCU Show podcast. We are so happy that you're listening to us. It's Bichii,
Becky,
and Ruth.
So guys, today we are a trio. Karega has not joined us for this particular episode. He is out and about in the Maldives. People have started their holidays early, but not to worry, guys. Today we have a very, very special guest listener and contributor in this particular episode on drug and substance abuse. Richie, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi everybody, my name is Richard Wainaina Enjoy, and it's a pleasure to be here to discuss the things that are affecting mostly us, the youth, and ultimately even the old people. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wow, it's a pleasure for us to have you, Richard. He's actually called Lemayan, and I'm just we're just discussing with Becky, and we are like, he didn't say he was called Lemayan. Richie, Kwani Lemayan is a nickname again.
Okay, well, Lemayan, it's a Maasai name. Okay, let me explain how it came about. It's a Maasai name. I went to visit my aunt in Narok, and she said there was a blessing in the family, and Lemayan is a word that represents a blessing, and so I call myself Lemayan because I'm blessed.
Hey!
Wow.
Hey! Wow!
That's sweet. In this podcast.
Wow, that's really, really beautiful. Guy, hey, hapa tu watu wanaitwa majina zingine za maajabu. Ruth and Becky, I don't want to name names, but
What's up?
By the way, guys, the other day we were texting with Becky and I called her a Kalenjin name for ladies, and it was Chebiose, and she was really happy and she said, I want to be called Chebiose even in the podcast. So Becky, is this your Lemayan name, eh?
What have I done? Seriously.
So today's topic is a very sensitive topic on drug and substance abuse. And this is something that a lot of people our age, and that is the youth, have struggled with and are still continue to struggling with. And today, our conversation is not about the fact that it's wrong, because since time immemorial, when we were in primary school, high school, and even in university, we've known that abusing drugs is wrong and the use of drugs is wrong. And so today we want to shift that conversation to the why. Why do people fall prey to such tendencies at the end of the day? Ruth, what do you think about that?
Just before I say the why, I just like to throw in that when I came to uni, I found like using drugs was something very, very normal. It's not something that is shocking or whatever. And what I deduced from that is that people are just trying to fit in, like to not join, and then you find like 3 of your friends are using drugs, so you're like, they're using drugs and they're still okay, and it's not like something bad is happening to them. So at however, you use drugs so that you fit in that clique, so to say. Yeah.
So basically peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
Interesting. Becky?
I think it's also a factor of diversity. Like you hear people saying how high they get when they abuse drugs and that kind of stuff. So you're like, yeah, nataka kujua how it feels.
The curious mind, definitely. Richard, What do you think about that?
Well, when we're tackling such a sensitive topic, it's very important to notice that, to know that there can be 1,000 reasons as to why people indulge in the same. Some of the reasons are known to us, others are yet to be found out. You see, the question why cuts across a lot of stuff, because some people abuse out of curiosity, as Becky has said, others out of peer pressure, as Ruth has said, others are just exploring, others are just forced to, others are, there can be so many reasons. In one of my discussions with a roommate, I leave a name, she was, he was abusing drugs, and so, you see, you ask them, why are you doing this? And they're like, you know what, you get high, nini. Then after that, I'd be like, after they had finished whatever they were doing, I'm like, you're saying you'll get high, and I'm even happier than you are. I was trying to teach them. And then he burst into a vulnerability state, and he's like, oh, Richard, everybody has a running place. Everybody needs a sort of somewhere to run to. And so in short, he was trying to tell me that he can only run away from life through drugs and stuff. And so let me say, there can be so many reasons. There are so many things we can list down to explain why people do what they do.
Exactly. What Richard and Becky, I'm picking from you guys, is the coping mechanism that people use to get away from life, like Richie is saying, to get away from the pain, and which is actually super relatable, because there was this there's this series on HBO Max. It's called Euphoria. I watched season 1 last year, and the story itself is about a girl who is dealing with drug abuse, and her reason is to escape from the pain of existence. Like, she does not really understand herself. Her identity is very, very all over the place. So she kind of just uses drugs to escape that reality and feel good about herself. It's not like she does not love her life. It's just like, I just want to escape from this pain that I'm feeling, this pain of not knowing who I am. And it's pretty understandable, which informs our next question, which is, has our society, especially in the African context, like in Kenya, so to say, has our society handled drug abuse or addiction well, or has it thrown the ball? How has society handled this particular situation?
I would say it looks like it's two-way. It has not handled it well, and also it may throw the ball, because it's more or less judgmental. The society is more or less judgmental. Unapata that when someone is abusing drugs, no one would want to associate with you. Like, they wouldn't want to know the reason behind it, like the reason behind you using drugs. No one wants to help you. It's for them, it's like you are a done case, you are a done deal. Where malizana tu twende tukipita. So it's not like people are really helping. And also it's like, okay, now that's like the older generation, and then the younger generation, like us, to go, oh, you're using drugs. We're not like, this is the problem, it's not like it's a problem that you're supposed to help someone to go, you're using drugs, so it's your life, you continue. We're not really thinking that this person is actually destroying this person might have effect later. So we've just like thrown the towel in, and we're like, sawa, it's your life, it's your life, it's how you feel good, so continue, it's what works for you. So yeah, I feel like the society has not really done anything to help people who are using drugs. Yeah.
Ruth, you've actually said a very important point, and I want to challenge you on that particular argument. Now, you've said that as youths, we just say that, oh, it's your life, blah, blah, blah. You do what you gotta do. Now, what is your position in helping this particular person? How can you help them? Like, for example, I'm using drugs, and then you discover that I'm using drugs. Now, how are you gonna help me?
I think, not thinking. What I can do is, first of all, try to understand why you're using drugs, because mostly, like how Bichii has said, we are either trying to solve pleasure or pain. So for some people, yes, it's pleasure, and I don't know if they can stop. But for people who I can help, ni watu wenye, you try listening to their story and uko, what this person alianza kutumia drugs because of this and this in the family, or trying to solve the pain issue. So mseka huyo, you just talk to them, like there is another way out of this. See drugs peke yake. You just don't assume anatumia drugs because anataka. So like you have to find the reason behind, and then you go on from there. You try finding avenues from help. Maybe a more superior person, like in the MCCU, we have STEM staff, we have CMF. So when you now know the problem, at least you can move on from there. See, just assuming, because that's more of ignorance in my part. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I'm going to hold off my argument for that. I want to hear what Becky and Bichii have to say about that and how society has handled drug abuse in general. So I think I'm going to start with Becky and then Bichii.
I feel like the society is doing a lot to deal with this issue, because the church has been on the forefront with a lot of seminars, a lot of conferences and talks and workshops on drug and substance abuse. Though I wouldn't say that is the most effective way. Probably that's why kuna conferences nyingi now. It's like we're not seeing the results, but the society is really trying. That's what I would say.
When we're talking about the society, let's talk about the larger number of the society, because we are part of the society, and maybe we believe we have the solutions to this, and somebody else believes the same thing. And so, as Ruth had said initially, part of the society is helping, and part of the society is very judgmental. But when I look at this issue, I feel like one of the mistakes we make as a people is to try and give people solutions to their problems. Whereas I feel like if you presented the truth to a person and left them to decide, it will really be important into their lives and stuff. You look at the older generation, like today in the morning, I called my dad and I was telling him, I'm going somewhere, we were discussing something about drug and substance abuse. All of a sudden, he's all over about Wajakoya thing, and he's all over about all the guys in the village that have been destroyed by weed and all that. You see, we live in a society. Actually, I think the reason why many young people abuse drugs here is the fact that from your village or from wherever you come from, everybody, there is always this example. Unapeanga, unaambiwa. You see, if you do weed, utafanana na huu jamaa litizi because of weed and stuff and all that. And then you come to campus and you find some very fine people doing assignments on time. They have very clean rooms and they're doing drugs. And all of a sudden it starts becoming like kind of confusion na hizo vitu zote. So, okay, before I move away from the question, let me say, anybody that is struggling with, let's say, something, let's say drug abuse for this matter, if you approach them with solutions, they feel judged, And I feel like if the question of solutions to be asked from me, I'll say it's more of at least show a person that you understand them. Ile for real, like you understand. Like I don't judge you. I love you. That love of Christ, Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Bichii. You've actually just picked my brain. That is exactly what I wanted to bring about when Ruth was saying that we should communicate with them, which is actually very important. But we need to establish the boundary of we can't really help them if they don't want to help themselves. That you guys telling me what to do will not actually help me, because at the end of the day, if I don't want to change, there's nothing that you can do. You can come up to me and say that you can come up to me and say that that I want to help you. You know, I don't like what you're doing. But if he or she does not want to be helped, or is not in that particular position to help themselves and know that this is something very degrading to their lives, there's nothing that you can do to help them. Literally, it is up to them to reach that point, and you as a support system, you are going to support them up to that particular point. But if you force things down their throat, then it's not going to bring a very good outcome. I was watching a TikTok where the person was trying to help another go through an addiction. It was not a drug and substance abuse addiction. It was like a sexual addiction. And this particular person trying to help the victim made it all about themselves. It was not even about the victim anymore. He was getting mad that the victim was not following his instructions, that his efforts to make him or to overcome this particular addiction was not working. So he was mad, he was crying, he was like yelling to this victim. And that particular TikTok was was an eye-opener to me, because I feel like as people who want to help these particular people, we miss the factor that they have to understand that this is wrong before you actually even make that move, because at the end of the day, your actions will be futile if they don't want to help themselves. And it can actually come out as toxic, because like this particular TikTok, if you force yourself to help someone and then you make it all about yourself, then you're not helping them at all. You're like, now you're directing your insecurities to them. You're like, why are you not doing as I told you? Why? Do you want to die? Do you want to do what? You see? And so that is a very, very sensitive, that's a very, very sensitive approach that I feel like we miss out a lot. And as Bichii has said about the examples that you were given in our villages, and then when you come to university, the particular reality changes. It's exactly what we were discussing just about now, about the why. Our society has not addressed the why. We normally just project that drug and substance abuse is wrong. I was attending a funeral last week, and the chief of that particular area was advising young people that, oh, don't take drugs, you know, you will become mad, you will become what? And I was just thinking, okay, you are communicating that drug and substance abuse is wrong, which is okay, but you're not telling us the why. You're not telling us the why. And that leaves a very big gap. If Bichii comes and tells me that, Bichii, smoking weed or drinking too much alcohol is bad, and then I'll say, okay, but why? I'll have that question, but why? And then Bichii just tells me, wejua tu ni mbaya. And then I go to another place. Becky convinces me that, okay, we normally take some few, we just to get the edge off. We have a long day, you know, and whatnot. So you not communicating the why to me will leave me vulnerable to be exploited by another, to be exploited by another convincing factor. And that is the problem, I think, is a gap in the society that we've not addressed. And we wonder why we're having all these conferences about drug abuse, saying, oh, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. But we still have people abusing drugs, because I feel like we're not addressing the why. We are clearly not addressing the why. And as Corinthians chapter 10 verse 13 says, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. This is something that we need to understand, that as much as we want to help these people, we need to inform them that they are able to overcome this. We need to empower them that they are able to overcome this. Not directly just tell them, oh, this is wrong, guys, this is wrong. Yeah, they know that it's wrong and it's coming off as judgmental, as Bichii and Ruth have just said. But we need to acknowledge that God is giving us, God cannot give you a temptation that you cannot handle, as Corinthians 10:13 says. And it is for us to lead them to that particular point where, as a support system, where they realize that this is very wrong and I want your help, guys. I want you guys to support me. I want you guys to be my accountability partners. I want you guys to help me overcome this, because I am ready to do this. I'm ready to do this. But if they're not in that headspace, whatever you do, even if you move mountains, it's not gonna help them at the end of the day.
You've actually raised a very legit point when you read the book of 1 Corinthians, and I just remembered yesterday I was on TikTok, and I was listening to another woman who had bipolar condition. Alafu alikuwa anasema and also just, you know, highlighting something that a friend of mine who does medicine aliniambia, that people who have mental illnesses, they do bad things, but they can't control themselves. So I was like, nilikuwa naimira to drug addiction, and I'm like, in as much as this person may or may not know that what they're doing is bad, they're already addicted, like there's really not much yeye anaweza jifanya, like ako in that state of helplessness, you get. So ako helpless, like you can't help yourself, uko tu, you are doing it, maybe you don't want to do it, but still you are doing it. And telling them that God will provide a way is actually a really nice thing, because you're like, yeah, there is a way out. Yes, una feel helpless. But there is a way out. And kuwa judge, you should also like key in the fact that Anna go through addiction. And when you're going through addiction, what you want to do, the way Paul says that I do things that I don't want to do, yet I know it's wrong, but I still do it, you know, like you have to talk to this person with that in mind. Si ati anataka kufanya kile anafanya most of the times. Si ati anataka kufanya kile anafanya. So when you come with that judgmental aspect, it's not really helping them, because wako in that situation, in that helpless situation. Yes.
Let me say, everybody that is doing something wrong, you know, the good thing about today is that you don't have to be read for the things, a list of the wrong things and the right things. Anybody that's doing something wrong and they want to justify that whatever they're doing is not wrong but right, every time you approach themselves with that, them with that situation, they feel judged. And it's very hard to you know, many times we point fingers when people are not in a position to do what we do. Like you say, maybe for example, for you it's very easy to say no to something, but somebody else, just because they can't say no to something, we tend to point fingers. And it's the same thing. You come approaching somebody on the point of wrong and right, they feel judged. But if only, you see, at the end of the day, the most mocked answer to life is the best answer to life questions, that Christ is the answer. Because Christ being the answer is us showing the love. You know, the language of God is love. Us showing that love, approaching with love. And you approach everybody with love, and then the rest of the wording comes from God. And you realize that you can impact lives more with love than with speech. So I think it's more of, before even you face somebody, you pray to God, God, give me the grace and the wisdom to face this person. And with time you realize that you tend to draw people back to God, and you tend to help them to rise above their addiction. Yeah, that's what I can say.
And you've raised something very important. Both your sentiments on the topic with Ruth, you've talked about addiction and how it's not something that can just be fixed with just a snap of your finger. Like today you just wake up and say, you know what, I'm not gonna be smoking this anymore, I'm not gonna be doing this anymore. It is a disease. It is a disease that needs to be handled day in, day out, because you overcome it each and every day. You can't just snap a finger and everything is okay. And us understanding this will actually help us to help someone who is in that particular cycle of addiction, and also help ourselves if there's something that we feel like we are very addicted to, that is very wrong or very derogative to our lives. That it's a journey, and this journey you need to take it step by step. You need to find coping mechanisms, if it's going to therapy, if it is be having accountability partners. But all in all, we need to depend on God to help us through this journey, to pray that each and every day might be a win, that today I did not smoke. And for you to understand that, you will lay off the pressure in yourself that if you don't just stop it like that, you now spiral up into depression and it gets a whole lot mess. It doesn't get fixed like that. It is something that it takes time, and for you to acknowledge that, it's very, very important. Very, very important.